blind daughter of billionaire was isolated at the party until a beggar played a song for her. Emily Parker gripped the white cane so tightly her knuckles turned white. At 22, she had never felt as alone as she did at the party her father had thrown in her honor. Hundreds of guests danced in the main hall of the Upper East Side mansion, but no one approached the chair where she remained motionless. That's when a different melody cut through the air. It didn't come from the orchestra her father had hired, but from an old out-of-tune guitar. The music was simple but carried an emotion Emily hadn't felt in years. She turned her face toward the sound, her heart racing in a way she didn't understand. "Who's playing?" she whispered to Ruth, the housekeeper who always stayed by her side. "I don't know, miss. Must be someone who came in through the back," replied Ruth, sounding worried. Emily heard quick footsteps approaching. Security was rushing to expel the intruder. Without hesitation, she raised her hand. "Stop," she said with a firmness that surprised everyone. "Let him continue." The Golden Hall fell silent. Only the sound of the guitar remained, playing a song that stirred something deep in Emily's soul. She stood up slowly, feeling all eyes on her. Dr. Richard Parker, her father, watched from the main staircase with a tense face. At 55, he had built a pharmaceutical empire from nothing, but never knew how to handle his blind daughter. Beside him, Victoria, his second wife, whispered in his ear. "Richard, you need to do something. This is an embarrassment," murmured Victoria, adjusting her pearl necklace. But Emily was already walking toward the music, guided by the sound. The guests moved aside, creating a pathway. She had never walked alone at a party. Someone always guided her. Someone always decided where she should be. The man playing the guitar was near the back door. His clothes were old and patched, his graying hair unkempt. When he saw Emily approaching, he stopped playing for a moment. "Please continue," she requested, stopping a few feet away. "Are you sure, miss?" the man asked in a hoarse voice. "I am. This song, where did you learn it?" The man started playing again, slower this time. "A woman taught me a long time ago, a woman who used to sing this song to her little girl." Emily felt a shiver. Something about that melody awakened memories she didn't know she had. Confused images of a female voice singing softly, of delicate hands touching her face. "What was her name?" she asked, her voice trembling. Catherine Wilson." The name hit Emily like a punch. Catherine was her mother's name, but her father had always said she left when Emily was very young. He never spoke about her, only said she couldn't handle having a disabled daughter. Dr. Richard came down the stairs quickly, his face red with anger. "Who are you? How dare you enter my home?" "My name is Michael. Michael Thompson," the man replied, continuing to play. "And I came here to keep a promise." "What promise?" Emily turned toward her father's voice. "I promised your mother that one day I would tell you the truth," said Michael, stopping his playing. The hall erupted in murmurs. Victoria rushed down the stairs trying to control the situation. "Richard, do something. The guests are watching everything." "The truth about what?" insisted Emily, ignoring the chaos around her. Michael put away his guitar and approached her. "About why you lost your sight, about why your mother really left, about the lies they've told you all these years." Dr. Richard grabbed the man's arm. "You will leave my house now, or I'll call security." "Father, wait." Emily held her father's arm. "I want to hear what he has to say." "Emily, you don't understand. This man is disturbed. He's trying to take advantage of you." "Take advantage of me? How?" she retorted. "By talking about my mother. Why do you never tell me anything about her?" Ruth, the housekeeper, watched everything with tears in her eyes. She had known Emily since she was a baby and knew secrets she never dared to reveal. Michael looked around the hall full of rich, well-dressed people. "Your mother wasn't like these people here. She was simple, worked as a music teacher in a public school. She met your father when he was still young and struggling to build the business." "That has nothing to do with," began Dr. Richard. "Let him speak." Emily raised her voice, something she rarely did. "For the first time, someone is telling me about my mother." Michael continued. "Catherine was a sweet woman, full of life. She loved music and wanted to teach you to play the guitar. When you were 5, she started giving you lessons." Emily felt tears streaming behind her sunglasses. Fragments of memories began to return. She vaguely remembered small fingers being guided over guitar strings, a soft voice teaching simple chords. "You remember, don't you?" Michael asked gently. I think so. But I lost my sight when I was 7. It was an accident." "It wasn't an accident, girl." The silence in the hall was deafening. All the guests had stopped dancing and moved closer to hear the conversation. Dr. Richard was pale. "What are you talking about?" whispered Emily. Michael took a deep breath. "Your father and your mother argued a lot that day. He said he didn't want you learning music, that it was for poor people. Your mother defended your right to a complete education." "That's a lie," exploded Dr. Richard. "You weren't there." "But I was," said a faint voice. Everyone turned. Ruth, the housekeeper, walked slowly toward the group. Her hands trembled. "Ruth?" Emily turned toward the familiar voice. "I was there that day, girl. I saw everything," said Ruth, tears flowing freely. "Your father snatched the little guitar from your hands and threw it out the window. You ran after it, tried to catch it, and fell from the second-floor window," Michael finished. "Hit your head on the garden stones." Emily brought her hands to her face, memories returning like an avalanche. She now remembered the sound of the guitar shattering below, running desperately to save it, losing her balance at the window. "No," whispered Dr. Richard. "It wasn't like that. It was an accident. She fell on her own." "You lied to her for 15 years, said Michael, "and it wasn't just about the accident." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. "What else are you hiding from me?" asked Emily, turning to her father. Dr. Richard looked around, seeing all the guests watching. Important businessmen, politicians, opinion leaders. His reputation was being destroyed in front of everyone. "Enough," he shouted. "Security, get these two out of my house immediately." But before anyone could move, Victoria approached. She was nervous but tried to maintain her composure. "Richard, maybe it's better if we talk in private. The guests can leave," he roared. "Party's over." "No," said Emily firmly. "The party isn't over, and they're not leaving before I hear the whole truth." Michael smiled sadly. "Your mother always said you were brave. Even as a little girl, you never gave up on what you wanted." "Where is she now?" asked Emily, her voice trembling. "Living in Queens on the outskirts. Works at a music school for underprivileged children." She's alive?" Emily could barely breathe. "Very much alive. And thinking of you every day." Dr. Richard laughed bitterly. "Do you believe this madman? He probably never even knew Catherine. He's making everything up to try to get money." Michael took something from his torn pants pocket. It was an old photo, yellowed with time. "This photo was taken on the last birthday you spent together. You were 6 years old, playing guitar on Catherine's lap." Emily held the photo with trembling hands. Even though she couldn't see it, she ran her fingers over the surface as if she could feel the images. May I touch it?" she asked Michael. He handed the guitar to her. Emily held the instrument hesitantly. Her fingers found the strings naturally, as if no time had passed. She began to play the same melody Michael had played, but now the memories flowed freely. She remembered her mother's hands guiding hers, her patience in teaching each chord, her proud smile when Emily managed to play a complete song. "Why did you separate me from her?" she asked her father, without stopping playing. Dr. Richard approached, his voice lower now. "Because I wanted to protect you. Catherine wanted to take you away, wanted you to grow up in the outskirts, to study in a public school. You deserved more than that. Deserved more than my mother's love. You had just gone blind. You needed expensive treatments, the best doctors. Catherine couldn't offer that." "But she didn't even get the chance to try," said Michael. "You got full custody in court, claiming she was emotionally unstable after the accident." Emily stopped playing. "Did you prevent her from visiting me? It was for your own good. You were adapting to your new reality, learning Braille, receiving physical therapy. Her visits only made you more agitated." "That's a lie," whispered Ruth. The girl cried every night asking for her mother. Victoria, realizing the situation was getting out of control, tried to intervene. "Everyone, please. Let's resolve this within the family, away from the guests." "I'm not her family," said Emily coldly. "You married my father when I was 15. You never tried to be my mother." "Emily, I always tried to help you." "Help?" Emily laughed bitterly. "You always treated me like a burden, a problem that needed to be hidden from your friends." The guests began talking among themselves, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Some started heading for the exit. "Look what you've done," shouted Dr. Richard. "You've ruined my daughter's party." "I ruined my own party?" asked Emily, standing up. "Dad, this party was never for me. It was for you to show your friends how generous you are with your disabled daughter." "How can you say such a thing?" "Because it's the truth. How many of your guests talked to me today? How many even know my name? I'm just a decoration in your charity show." Michael watched the scene with sadness. "Your mother always knew this would happen. That's why she fought so hard to keep you with her." "Where exactly is she?" asked Emily. "In Queens. She has a small music school at home. Teaches neighborhood children for free. I want to see her." "No." Dr. Richard stepped between Emily and Michael. "You're not going anywhere with this man." "Why not? What are you afraid of?" "I'm afraid you'll be deceived. That this man will use you to get money." Michael shook his head. "I don't want anything from you, Doctor. I just came to fulfill my promise." "What promise?" insisted Emily. "Before you were born, when your mother was still pregnant, she made me promise one thing. If one day she couldn't be near you, I should make sure you knew the truth." "And how do you know my mother?" Michael hesitated for a moment. "We were close before she met your father." Dr. Richard paled. "What do you mean by close?" "Catherine and I dated for 3 years. We were going to get married." The room erupted in murmurs again. Emily felt the floor move beneath her feet. "You were going to get married?" "We were, until she met your father at a show we were performing in the square. He showed up in his black Cadillac, all dressed up, promising a life I could never give her." "That has nothing to do with—" "It has everything to do with it." Michael turned to Dr. Richard. "You always knew she didn't love you the way she loved music, the way she loved the simple life we led." Emily felt dizzy. The revelations were coming too fast. "Mom didn't love you, Dad." Dr. Richard ran his hand through his hair, visibly upset. "She did love me. We had you, didn't we?" "Having a child doesn't mean love," said Michael. "Catherine told me you fought constantly, that you wanted to change her, turn her into a businessman's wife. And what's wrong with that? I offered her a better life." "Better for whom?" asked Emily. "For her or for your image?" Victoria, noticing her husband was losing control, tried to shift the focus. "Emily, dear, you're letting yourself be influenced by this man. He clearly has ulterior motives." "What motives?" Emily turned to her stepmother. "He didn't ask for money. He doesn't want anything. He's just telling me the truth you've hidden for 15 years. "His version of the truth," Victoria retorted. "Then tell me your version of the truth," Emily challenged. "Why did my mother never visit me? Why don't I have any pictures of her? Why do you never talk about her?" Dr. Richard and Victoria exchanged nervous glances. Ruth, the housekeeper, approached Emily. "Miss, there are some things you need to know," Ruth said quietly. "What things?" "Your mother tried to see you many times. I saw her a few times at the house gates crying. Your father forbade me from letting her in." "Ruth," Dr. Richard scolded her, "you don't know anything." "I do know." Ruth turned to him with newfound courage. "I know that Mrs. Catherine called you every week for years. I know she sent gifts that you threw away. I know she wrote letters that you never showed the girl." Emily felt her legs tremble. "Letters? What letters?" "Ruth, you're talking too much," Dr. Richard threatened. "No, doctor, I've stayed quiet for too long. The girl has a right to know." Ruth turned to Emily. "Your mother wrote you a letter every month for 10 years. Your father kept them all in a safe in his office." 10 years? Emily could barely speak. 50 letters? More than that. Sometimes she wrote 2 or 3 a month. Emily turned toward her father. "You have letters from my mother, and you never showed me?" They were letters that would only make you suffer. She talked about her difficult life, about how much she missed you. It was better for you to move on. "Move on!" Emily shouted. "I never managed to move on. I always felt like something was missing in my life." Michael approached her. "If you want, I can take you to see your mother right now." "She doesn't even know I'm coming?" "She does. I called her before coming here. She's waiting." Dr. Richard stepped forward. "Emily, if you leave this house with this man, you may not come back. Is that a threat?" "It's reality. You'll find out that life out there isn't as easy as you think. At least it will be a real life." Victoria tried one last card. "Emily, think carefully. You have everything here. Comfort, security, people who care for you. Out there, you'll just be another blind person in a violent neighborhood." "Violent?" Michael laughed ironically. "The violence is right here, Mrs. Victoria. It's the violence of lying to a daughter for 15 years. Emily walked toward the door, still holding Michael's guitar. "Ruth, do you want to come with me?" The housekeeper looked at Dr. Richard, then at Emily. "Miss, Ruth has worked for me for 20 years, said Dr. Richard coldly. "If she leaves with you, she's fired." "That's fine," said Emily. "My mother probably needs help at her music school." Ruth smiled for the first time that evening. "Then I'll go with you, girl." The guests watched the scene as if it were a movie. Some discreetly took photos with their cell phones. The scandal would be talked about for weeks in New York City's social circles. Dr. Richard made one last attempt. "Emily, you can't go like this. You don't even have proper clothes, money." "I don't need expensive clothes to see my mother, and money was never the most important thing. But you don't know how to live without comfort. You've never had to work, never had to fend for yourself. Then it's time to learn." Michael offered his arm to Emily. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I've never been so sure of anything in my life." They began walking toward the exit. Victoria ran after them. "Emily, wait. Your father is worried. He only wants what's best for you." Emily stopped and turned around. "If he wanted what's best for me, he should have let me grow up with my mother. He should have taught me to be independent. He should have told me the truth. But you can have both. You can see your mother and still live here." "I can't live in a house built on lies." Dr. Richard approached, his voice softer now. "Emily, I know I made mistakes, but I did everything because I love you. Love isn't possession, Dad. Love is freedom. How can a 22-year-old girl know what love is? Maybe because I was never allowed to experience it." Michael, Ruth, and Emily walked through the hall toward the main door. The guests stepped aside, creating a corridor. Some older women wiped tears from their eyes, clearly moved by the scene. At the door, Emily stopped and turned one last time. "Dad, when you're ready to tell me the whole truth, I'll be in Queens, with my mother. And if I'm never ready, then you will have lost your daughter forever." Dr. Richard watched the three leave his mansion. Victoria approached him, trying to console him. "Richard, she'll be back. It's just youthful rebellion." "No," he whispered. "She's just like her mother. Once she makes a decision, she doesn't go back." Outside, Michael hailed a taxi. "Are you sure you don't want to grab some clothes?" "I don't want anything from here," replied Emily, taking a deep breath of the night air. "I just want to see my mother." Ruth held Emily's hand. "Girl, you were very brave." "I wasn't brave. I just can't stand living a lie anymore." The taxi arrived and the three got in. As they drove away from the mansion, Emily asked Michael, "How did you know I would be at this party today?" "Your mother reads the society pages. She always knew everything about your life." "And why did you come today of all days?" Michael hesitated. "Because today is her birthday, and she asked for just one thing as a gift." "What?" "To see you one more time." Emily began to cry. For 15 years, she thought her mother had left because she didn't love her enough. Now she discovered that she had never stopped fighting for her. The trip from Upper East Side to Queens took almost 2 hours in New York City traffic. During the journey, Michael told more stories about Catherine. How she had become a teacher, how she cared for underprivileged children, how she had never married again. "She never married?" asked Emily. "She said she had already had the love of her life. You." Ruth also shared memories of Emily's early years, of how she was a cheerful and curious child before losing her sight. "You were too mischievous," laughed Ruth, "always wanting to touch your mother's guitar, even though you were too small. Why did you never tell me these things? Your father forbade it. He said it would be too painful for you." When they arrived in the Queen's neighborhood, Emily felt a different energy. The air was cleaner, less polluted than the Upper East Side. There were sounds of children playing, music coming from some houses, lively conversations on the street. "We're here," said Michael, stopping in front of a simple house. Emily could hear music coming from inside. It was the same melody Michael had played at the party, but played on the piano. "She's playing," whispered Emily. "She's waiting for you." Michael knocked on the door. The music stopped immediately. Quick footsteps approached. "Michael?" came a woman's voice from the other side. "It's me, Catherine, and I brought someone for you." The door opened slowly. Emily heard a muffled scream, then the sound of someone falling to the ground. "Mom!" Emily knelt, searching for Catherine with her hands. Catherine was on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "Emily? Is it really you?" "It's me, Mom. It's me." They hugged right there on the doorstep. 15 years of separation, 15 years of longing, 15 years of repressed love exploded at that moment. "My daughter, you look so beautiful," said Catherine, touching Emily's face. "You've grown so much." "Mom, why did you never come to get me?" "I tried, my daughter. I tried so many times. But your father, he said it was better this way." Michael and Ruth watched, moved. Finally, mother and daughter were reunited. "Come on, come in," said Catherine, getting up. "Let's talk properly." The house was small but cozy. Emily could smell wood, books, flowers. It was completely different from the cold mansion where she grew up. "Your house is beautiful, Mom. It's simple, but it's made with love." Catherine took Emily to the living room. There was an old piano in one corner, shelves full of books, guitars on the walls. "Did you continue giving music lessons?" "I never stopped. It's my way of keeping you close to me. With every child I teach, I imagine it's you." "Mum, I remember the lessons you gave me." "You remember?" Catherine held her daughter's hands. "I was so afraid you would forget. Michael brought a guitar for me to play at the party. When I started playing, everything came back." Catherine looked at Michael with gratitude. "Thank you for keeping your promise." "It was the least I could do." Ruth sat in a nearby armchair. "Mrs. Catherine, the girl suffered a lot all these years, always feeling like something was missing." "I suffered too," said Catherine. "Not a single day went by that I didn't think of her." Emily explored the room with her hands, recognizing textures and shapes. When she reached the piano, she touched the keys gently. "Do you want me to play something for you?" asked Catherine. "That song Michael played, our song." Catherine sat at the piano and began to play. It was a simple melody, but full of emotion. Emily approached and sat next to her mother. "I taught you this song when you were 5 years old," said Catherine without stopping playing. "You said it was our secret song, and it was. It still is." Catherine stopped playing and looked at her daughter. "Emily, I need you to know one thing. I never stopped fighting for you. I went to the courts, looked for lawyers, tried everything." "What happened?" "Your father had a lot of money, expensive lawyers. He managed to prove that I wasn't fit to care for a child with a visual impairment. And after the accident, you know how the accident happened?" Catherine began to cry again. "I know. I know you fell trying to save your little guitar. I know your father threw it out the window during a fight with me." "Why did you fight?" "Because he wanted to forbid you from learning music. He said it was a waste of time, that you needed to focus on more practical things." Emily felt anger growing in her chest. "He stole 15 years with you because of music." "Not just because of that. He never accepted who I really was. He wanted me to be a businessman's wife, elegant, refined. But I was just a teacher who loved music, and I inherited that from you." "You did? You were always musical? Even as a baby, you'd stop crying when I sang." Michael, who had stayed quiet, came closer. Catherine, tell her about the letters. Letters? Emily turned to her mother. I wrote you a letter every month for 10 years. I mailed them but never got a reply. Until one day the mailman told me they were all being returned. Dad kept them all, Ruth told me. He kept them. Catherine was surprised. So he read them? He must have. Why else would he keep them? Ruth stood up. Mrs. Catherine, your ex-husband is a complicated man. He loves the girl, but in a sick way. He wants to control her completely. It was always like that, sighed Catherine. That's why it didn't work between us. Emily explored the house further. In Catherine's room she found a table full of photographs. She ran her fingers over them. Are these yours? She asked. Yes, photos from when you were little. I got some from Ruth before she was forbidden to see me. Ruth helped you? A lot. For years she called me secretly to tell me how you were doing. Emily turned to the housekeeper. Thank you for taking care of me, Ruth. And thank you for staying in touch with my mother. It was the least I could do. You were always like a daughter to me. Catherine showed Emily a small guitar stored in a corner of the room. This was yours. I bought it when you were 4. Emily held the guitar tenderly. It was small, suited for a child's hands, but still in tune. You took care of it all these years? I did, always hoping that one day you'd come back to play it. Emily tried a few chords. Her fingers, despite years without practice, found the positions naturally. Mom, can you teach me again? I can teach you whatever you want. We have a lot of time to make up for. I'm not sure we do, said Emily, worried. Dad will try to take me back. He can try, said Michael, but you're an adult. The decision is yours. What if he cuts off my money, my allowance? You can work, said Catherine. I can teach you to give music lessons. There are many blind children who need to learn. I really can. I can be useful. Of course you can. You were always smart and determined. Blindness doesn't change that. For the first time in years, Emily felt hope. Not the empty hope she felt in the mansion, but a real hope of having a purposeful life. Mom, tell me about your students. Catherine brightened up. I have 15 regular students, kids from 5 to 16. Some have visual impairments, others don't. They all learn together. What do you mean, together? I found that blind and sighted children learn better when they study together. They help each other, develop empathy. That's wonderful. Yes. And you could help me. There's so much I can teach you. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. Mom, can I ask you a personal question? Of course, my daughter. Did you never think about having other children? Catherine sighed. I did. But how could I? You were my daughter, alive, but far from me. How could I replace that? You wouldn't replace me. You could just expand your love. My heart was always too full of missing you. Michael watched the conversation in silence. Emily noticed that he and Catherine had something unresolved between them. Michael, you and my mother, do you still like each other? They both fell silent. Finally, Catherine answered. Michael never completely left my life. He was always a loyal friend. Just a friend? Insisted Emily. Emily! Catherine blushed. Mum, I'm not a child anymore. I can understand adult relationships. Michael came closer. Your mother and I reconnected 5 years ago, by chance at a musical performance. And we discovered we still care about each other, admitted Catherine. So why aren't you together? Because I couldn't build a new life while you were lost to me, said Catherine. But now I'm not lost anymore. Catherine and Michael looked at each other. There was so much unspoken feeling between them. Mum, you deserve to be happy. And Michael, you seem like a good man. He is, said Catherine softly. Always has been. Ruth smiled. Good to see not everyone wasted time like your father, girl. What do you mean, Ruth? Your father married Victoria out of convenience, never loved her. She knows it. Then why did they stay together? She wanted social status. He wanted a presentable wife, a trade of favors. Emily shook her head. What a waste of life. Yeah, agreed Catherine. That's why I never married. Didn't want to pretend a love I didn't feel. The night had grown late, and everyone was emotionally tired. Catherine prepared the living room sofa for Michael and set up a mattress on the bedroom floor for Ruth. Emily would sleep in the bed with her mother, like when she was little. Mum, can I ask you one more question? As many as you want. Are you afraid I won't adapt to this life, that I'll miss the comfort of the mansion? Catherine thought carefully before answering. I am. You grew up in a reality very different from this one, but I believe true love is stronger than material comfort. I believe that too. And if one day you want to go back, I'll understand. I won't want to go back. Not to a life based on lies. Catherine stroked her daughter's hair. You've grown wise. I grew up alone. That teaches you a lot. Promise you'll never be alone again? I promise. If you promise you'll never leave me. I promise. This time, no one will separate us. They slept embraced, recovering 15 years of lost affection. Emily woke several times during the night just to make sure she wasn't dreaming. The next morning, Emily woke to the sound of children chatting. Catherine had already gotten up and was preparing coffee. Good morning, my daughter. Did you sleep well? Better than in years. What's that noise? It's my students arriving. I have class at 8. Can I watch? Of course. Want to meet the children? Emily got ready quickly and went to the room where Catherine taught. There were 5 children between 7 and 12 years old, 2 of them blind like Emily. Children, I have a very special visitor today, said Catherine. This is my daughter, Emily. Hi, Aunt Emily, the children said in chorus. An 8-year-old girl, clearly blind, approached. Aunt, can you also not see? I don't see with my eyes, replied Emily, but I see with my heart. That's so cool. Do you play guitar like Aunt Catherine? I'm relearning, Catherine smiled proudly. Emily will help us with classes from now on. During the lesson, Emily observed how Catherine taught. She was patient, caring, but also disciplined. The children respected her and clearly loved her. Aunt Catherine, said a 10-year-old boy named Jacob. Why did Aunt Emily live far from you? Catherine hesitated. Sometimes families get separated, Jacob, but love never ends. And now you'll live together. We will. That's great. Aunt Catherine would get sad when she talked about you, said a girl named Olivia. Emily was moved. Even far away, she had been present in her mother's life. After class came a moment Emily had feared. Victoria appeared at the house door. Emily, your father wants to talk to you. He didn't want to come in person. He's in the car. Asked you to go there. Catherine held her daughter's hand. You don't have to go if you don't want to. I need to. I have to make it clear. I'm not coming back. Emily left the house and walked to her father's car. It was the same Cadillac Michael had mentioned the night before. Get in the car, Emily, we need to talk. I can hear you from right here. People are watching us. And what's the problem? Dr. Richard sighed. All right, I came here to apologize. Apologize for what? For hiding the truth from you, for separating you from your mother. Emily was surprised. She didn't expect an apology. And to ask you to come back home. We can work this out. You can visit your mother whenever you want. It's not about visits, Dad, it's about honesty. I know, and I promise to be honest from now on. How can I trust you after 15 years of lies? Dr. Richard got out of the car and approached his daughter. Because I love you, and I know I made mistakes. Love isn't about control, Dad. You're right, but I'm afraid of losing you. You already lost me when you chose to lie to me. So there's no chance of regaining your trust. Emily thought for a moment. There is, but it won't be easy. What do you want? I want the letters my mother wrote, all of them. Okay, anything else? I want you to apologize to my mother, in person. Dr. Richard hesitated. Emily, it's that or nothing, Dad. All right, but she has to agree to see me. I'll ask her. Emily went back inside the house and told Catherine about the conversation. "He wants to apologize to me." Catherine was surprised. "He does, but you're not obligated to see him." Catherine thought for a moment. "I'll see him, not for him, but for you." Dr. Richard entered Catherine's simple house with visible discomfort. He was used to luxurious environments, and that simplicity bothered him. "Catherine," he said, stopping at the living room door. "Richard." They looked at each other for a moment. 15 years had passed, but there was still tension between them. "I came here to apologize," said Dr. Richard, "and to return some things that are yours." He handed a box to Catherine. Inside were all the letters she had written to Emily. "You kept all of them?" asked Catherine, surprised. "I did. I read every one. And you never showed them to Emily?" "No. I thought it was better that way." Catherine took a letter from the box and handed it to Emily. "This is the first one I wrote, a week after the accident." Emily asked Ruth to read the letter aloud. It was a letter full of love and pain, where Catherine asked for forgiveness for not protecting her daughter better. "My mother blamed herself for the accident?" asked Emily. "I blamed myself," admitted Catherine. "I felt I should have fought harder against your father." "It wasn't your fault," said Emily. "It was his." Dr. Richard lowered his head. "The fault was mine. All of it." "Why did you keep the letters?" asked Catherine. Because they reminded me of how much you loved her and how unfair I was being." "Then why didn't you return Emily to me?" "Because I'm proud and stubborn and afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that she would hate me when she found out the truth." Emily approached her father. "I don't hate you, Dad, but I don't trust you." "What can I do to regain your trust?" "You can start by respecting my choices. I'm going to stay here with my mother." "And your life at the mansion? Your studies? Your future?" "My future is here. I'm going to learn to teach music." Dr. Richard looked around the simple house. "Are you sure you want to live like this?" "I am. Here I am, Emily. There I was, just the blind daughter of the billionaire." Catherine approached Dr. Richard. "Richard, I know you love our daughter, but love isn't possession. I know that now. And I know you can be a good father if you set your pride aside." "How?" "By respecting her choices, supporting her dreams, being honest with her." Dr. Richard looked at Emily. "Would you give me a second chance?" "I would, but with conditions." "What conditions?" "First, you will fund my mother's music school. We're going to expand, help more children." "Okay, what's the second?" "Monday, you're going to therapy. You need to learn to deal with your control issues." "Emily, it's this or nothing, Dad." Dr. Richard sighed. "All right. Anything else?" "Third, you're going to divorce Victoria." "What? Why?" "Because you don't love each other, and life is too short to pretend love." Catherine smiled. Her daughter had become a wise woman. "And the fourth condition?" asked Dr. Richard. "There isn't a fourth. For now." Dr. Richard looked at Catherine. "Do you accept my money for the school?" "I do, but as an investment, not as charity." "What do you mean?" "You'll be a partner in the school. You'll monitor the results, participate in important decisions." "Does that mean we'll be working together?" "It means we'll put Emily's and the children's well-being above our personal differences." Dr. Richard extended his hand to Catherine. "We have a deal." Catherine shook his hand. "We do." Emily smiled. It was the first time in 15 years that her parents had spoken civilly. "Now I need to go," said Dr. Richard. "I have to talk to Victoria." "Are you going to tell her the truth too?" "I will. She deserves to know." After Dr. Richard left, Catherine hugged Emily. "I'm proud of you." "Why?" "For having the courage to demand what's right, for not accepting lies, for fighting for your happiness. I learned from you." "From me?" "You fought for 15 years to find me. You never gave up. That's courage." Michael approached the two. "Catherine, can I talk to you?" "Of course." "I was thinking, maybe it's time we talked about our feelings." Catherine blushed. "Michael, We've waited so long, Catherine. We can't wait forever. Emily smiled. Mum, you and Michael deserve to be happy. Together. But what about you? Won't you feel abandoned? Mum, I'm 22. I'm not a child anymore. I want to see you happy. Catherine looked at Michael. Are you sure you want to take on a ready-made family? Catherine, I've loved you for 15 years, and I already consider Emily as my daughter. Then it's decided, said Emily. You're going to be together. Just like that. So simple, laughed Catherine. Love should be simple. You're the ones who complicated it. Ruth, who was watching everything, started to cry. How beautiful to see a family forming again. Ruth, you're part of this family, said Emily. You took care of me for 15 years, and now I'll take care of all of you here. All of you? You, your mother, and the children at the school. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following months, a lot changed. Dr. Richard kept his promises. He funded the expansion of the music school, which started serving 50 children. He also started therapy, and surprisingly discovered that he enjoyed talking about his feelings. The divorce with Victoria was quick. She didn't protest much, especially when Dr. Richard offered a generous amount for her to rebuild her life. Catherine and Michael got married in a simple ceremony in the school's backyard. Emily was the maid of honor and played guitar during the ceremony. It was her first musical performance in her life, and she wasn't nervous. She was at home. Emily became a teacher at the school and developed innovative methods for teaching music to blind children. Her story became known, and she was invited to give lectures in other cities. Dr. Richard visited the school every week. At first, the children were intimidated by the serious man in a suit, but he gradually learned to relax and even to play some instruments. Uncle Richard, you play really badly, said Jacob, the 10-year-old boy, during a lesson. I know, laughed Dr. Richard, but I'm learning. Aunt Emily can teach you. She's really good. I'll ask her. Emily approached. Dad, do you really want me to teach you? I do. I've always wanted to learn music. Why did you never try? Because my father said music was for slackers. And now? Now I know my father was wrong about many things. Emily began giving private lessons to her father. It was strange at first, but gradually they developed a new relationship based on mutual respect. Dad, can I ask you a question? Of course. Do you regret separating me and my mother? Dr. Richard stopped playing. I regret it every day. It was the biggest mistake of my life. But if you hadn't done it, maybe you would never have changed. What do you mean? Sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what really matters. You're right, and I'm grateful you gave me a second chance. I'm grateful you accepted to change. 1 year after the reunion, Catherine's school had become a reference in teaching music to children with disabilities. Journalists came from all over the country to learn about the work. How did you develop these methods? A reporter asked Emily. I developed them because I had to. When you can't see, you learn to use all your other senses. And does your family support your work? Completely. My father even became one of the biggest advocates for inclusive education in the country. How did he react when you decided to leave the mansion to live in a simple house? At first he didn't understand, but now he knows happiness has nothing to do with money. The reporter turned to Catherine. And you, how do you feel about having your daughter back? I feel complete. I spent 15 years with a hole in my heart. Now it's filled. Do you have plans for the future? Many, Michael replied. We want to open similar schools in other cities. And will Emily be involved? I'll lead the project, said Emily. It's my life's mission. That night, the family gathered for dinner as they did every night. Dr. Richard, Catherine, Michael, Emily and Ruth sat around the simple table. Dad, you look different, observed Emily. How so? Lighter, happier. I feel lighter. Therapy is helping me a lot. And Victoria, how is she? Well, she married a businessman from LA. Seems happy. That's good. Everyone deserves to be happy. Catherine held Michael's hand. Michael, do you regret waiting so long? No. If we had stayed together earlier, maybe we wouldn't value what we have now so much. It's true. Suffering sometimes teaches things that happiness doesn't. Emily smiled. You're getting philosophical. We're getting old, laughed Catherine. Not old. Wise. Ruth served the coffee. Honey, do you want to come with me to the market tomorrow? I'm going to buy new instruments for the school. Of course, Ruth. You're my official shopping advisor. And what am I? Asked Dr. Richard. You're the bank, laughed Emily. I'd rather be the proud father. You can be both. After dinner, Emily went out for a walk in the backyard. The night air was fresh, and she could hear music coming from several houses in the neighborhood. Catherine joined her. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about how life can change so quickly. For the better. Definitely for the better. Do you have any regrets? Emily thought for a moment. I do. I regret not being braver earlier. What do you mean? I could have questioned Daddy's lies years ago. I could have looked for you. You were a child, then a controlled teenager. There was no way you could have known. Maybe. But I promise I'll never accept lies in my life again. Neither will I. I've already wasted too much time. They stayed silent for a moment, listening to the sounds of the night. Mom, can I tell you a secret? Of course. Sometimes, when I was little, I dreamed of a woman who sang to me. I never knew if they were memories or just dreams. They were memories. I sang to you every night before you went to sleep. What music? Catherine began to hum softly. It was the same melody Michael had played at the party. This music, said Emily, moved. I always knew it was special. It was our song. It still is. It always will be. The following month, the school received a special visit. Olivia, one of Emily's first students, had been accepted into the New York City Music Conservatory. Aunt Emily, I did it, shouted Olivia, running to hug her teacher. Did what? I passed the conservatory audition. I'm going to study piano. The whole school celebrated. Olivia was a 13-year-old blind girl who had arrived at the school not even knowing how to hold a sheet of music. How do you feel? Asked Emily. I feel like you must have felt when you reunited with your mother. What do you mean? Like I'm finally in the right place. Emily hugged Olivia tightly. I'm so proud of you. Will you miss me? I will. But staying here would be wasting your talent. Dr. Richard approached. Olivia, congratulations. Do you want me to help you with anything at the conservatory? Thank you, Uncle Richard, but my parents have already made arrangements. Even so, if you need anything, you can come to me. You can come to him, agreed Emily. My father learned that helping isn't controlling. Dr. Richard smiled. I did learn. It cost me, but I learned. That afternoon, Emily received an unexpected phone call. It was from a university in New York City. Emily, my name is Dr. William Stone. I'm the coordinator of the music education program at Columbia. Hello, doctor. How can I help you? Actually, we'd like to help you. We've heard about your work at the school and would like to invite you to teach at our university. Emily fell silent. She had never thought about teaching at a university. Teaching what? About teaching methods for music to people with visual impairments. You've developed revolutionary techniques. I need to think about it. Of course, but know that it would be an opportunity to train teachers who will take your methods across the country. After hanging up, Emily told her family about the invitation. It's an amazing opportunity, said Catherine. But it means leaving the school. You don't have to leave, said Michael. You can do both. How? By teaching at the university twice a week and continuing here on the other days. Do you think you could manage? Asked Dr. Richard. I think so, but it's scary. Why scary? Asked Catherine. Because it means I've really become someone important, and that gives me responsibility. You've always been important, said Ruth. Now the world is finding out. What if I'm not good enough? Then you learn and improve, said Dr. Richard. That's how life works. Emily decided to accept the invitation. Her first class at the university would be about music and inclusion breaking barriers. On the day of the class, she was nervous. There would be 50 students, all sighted, all older than her. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Parker, and I've been blind since I was 7. A respectful silence filled the room. I'm here to talk about how music can unite people who seem very different. She told her story, from the accident to reuniting with her mother, from the isolated life in the mansion to the work at the school. The biggest lesson I've learned is that disability isn't in the person. It's in the society that doesn't know how to handle differences. A student raised their hand. Professor, how can we help blind children feel included? By not treating them as pitiful. Treat them as normal children who happen not to see. What's the difference? The difference is that pitiful needs pity. Normal children need opportunity. The class was a success. The students asked many questions, and some offered to volunteer at the school. When she returned home, Emily was radiant. How was it? Asked Catherine eagerly. It was incredible. The students were very interested. And you? How did you feel? I felt useful. I felt like I can make a difference in other people's lives. You always could. Now you have a bigger platform. Dr. Richard arrived shortly after, carrying a box. What's that, Dad? A gift for you. Emily opened the box. Inside was a beautiful new guitar, made of light wood. Dad, it's beautiful, but why? Because you deserve to have your own instrument. Not a borrowed one, not an old one. A new one, just yours. Emily hugged her father. Thank you, it's the most beautiful gift I've ever received. It's not a gift. It's recognition. Recognition for who you've become. That night, Emily played the new guitar for the whole family. The music echoed through the simple house, reaching the street, where neighbors stopped to listen. It's strange to think that 2 years ago I was trapped in a golden mansion, said Emily. Why strange? Asked Michael. Because now I'm happier in a simple house than I ever was in a mansion. What changed? Asked Catherine. What changed is that now I have purpose. I have true love. I have the freedom to be who I really am. And who are you really? Asked Dr. Richard. Emily smiled. I'm a beloved daughter, a dedicated teacher, a free woman. And I'm blind, but that's just a detail. Just a detail? Yes, because blindness doesn't define who I am. It only defines how I see the world. And how do you see the world? I see with my heart, and so I see much more than many people who have perfect eyes. Ruth wiped away a tear. That's beautiful, girl. What's beautiful, Ruth? To see how you've grown, how you've become strong. I didn't become strong, Ruth. I discovered I always was. Catherine took Emily's hand. And did you discover anything else? I discovered that family isn't who shares the same blood. It's who shares the same dreams. And do we share the same dreams? We do. We dream of a world where all children can learn music, where all families live with honesty, where love is more important than money. Dr. Richard was moved. Emily, do you forgive me for the mistakes I made? I forgave you a long time ago, Dad. Do you forgive me for being stubborn? You weren't stubborn. You were brave, and I'm proud of your courage. Michael stood up. I think it's time for a toast. A toast to what? Asked Catherine. To family, to music, to second chances. Everyone raised their glasses of juice. To family. 2 years later, Emily was on stage at Lincoln Center. It was the school's first recital, and 50 children would perform for an audience of 1,000 people. Nervous? Asked Catherine backstage. A little, and you? Me too, but it's good nerves. Dr. Richard came running. Sorry I'm late. I was sorting out the last details of the recording. Recording? Asked Emily. A documentary about the school. A production company wants to tell our story. Our story? Yes. The story of how a family reunited through music. Emily smiled. I think it's worth telling. Of course it is. It might inspire other families. The curtains opened, and Emily saw the packed audience. At first she felt afraid. Then she remembered everything she had been through, the whole journey that had brought her there. Good evening, everyone, she said into the microphone. My name is Emily, and this is the school where I learned that music isn't about seeing, it's about feeling. The audience applauded. Emily continued. 3 years ago, I was lost at a party full of people, feeling completely alone, until a man played a song that changed my life. She waved to Michael, who was in the front row next to Catherine and Dr. Richard. That song brought me back home. It brought me back to family. It brought me back to myself. The children began to play. It was the same melody that Michael had played at the mansion party, but now arranged for a children's orchestra. "This is our song," said Emily. "The song that unites us, that strengthens us, that teaches us we are all different and all the same." The performance was an absolute success. The audience stood applauding for 5 minutes. Backstage, the family gathered to celebrate. "I'm proud of you," said Catherine, hugging Emily and the children. "We did this together," replied Emily. "Like a real family." Dr. Richard approached. "Emily, do you want to know something?" "What?" "This was the happiest night of my life." "Why?" "Because I saw my daughter shining, making a difference, being who she really is. And who am I really? You are an extraordinary teacher, a courageous daughter, and a person who makes the world better." Emily hugged her father. "Thank you for learning to love me properly. Thank you for teaching me how to love properly." That night, when they got home, the whole family sat in the backyard to talk about the day. "Can you believe that 3 years ago I didn't even know my mother was alive?" said Emily. "And now look," said Ruth. "You have a school, a family, a future. Is there anything you still want to achieve?" asked Michael. "I want to get married and have children," said Emily. Everyone was surprised. "Married? To whom?" asked Catherine. "I don't know yet, but I want to build my own family. I want to give my children everything I didn't have: honesty, music, true love." "And you will," said Dr. Richard, "because you've learned what's important in life." "I have, and you taught me." "Us? You taught me that family is built, that love is work, that music is the universal language of the heart." Catherine got emotional. "And what else have you learned?" "I've learned that it doesn't matter where you were born, with how much money, or with what limitations. What matters is who you choose to be. And who have you chosen to be? I've chosen to be someone who makes a difference, someone who doesn't accept lies, someone who fights for their own happiness and for the happiness of others." Dr. Richard looked at Catherine. "We raised an extraordinary daughter." "We didn't raise her. She raised herself. We just loved her." "And it was enough," said Emily. "Love, when it's true, is always enough." Michael picked up his guitar. "Do you want me to play our song?" "I do," said Emily. "But this time let's all sing together." And so they did. Sitting in the backyard of a simple house in Queens, a family brought together by love and music sang the song that had united them. The music echoed through the neighborhood, reaching the neighboring houses where other families stopped to listen. Some opened their windows, others came out to their balconies. It was a simple melody, but filled with feeling. A melody that spoke about meetings and reunions, about forgiveness and new beginnings, about love that overcomes all barriers. When they finished singing, Emily smiled. "Do you know what's most beautiful about all this?" "What?" they all asked together. "It's that our story isn't unique. There are thousands of families separated by pride, by fear, by misunderstandings, and if our story can inspire just one family to reunite, then it was all worth it." "It will inspire many," said Catherine. "I'm sure." "How can you be sure?" "Because true love always inspires. And our story is one of true love." "It is," agreed Emily. "It's a story about parents learning to love better, children learning to forgive, and families learning that it's never too late to start over." Dr. Richard stood up. "It's getting late. Tomorrow we have a lot of work." "What work?" asked Emily. "We're hosting a visit from a school in LA. They want to learn about our methods. And we're also interviewing teachers for the new school in Chicago," reminded Catherine. "Chicago?" Emily got excited. "Was the project approved?" "Yes, the city approved our proposal. In 6 months, we'll have the second school." "And will I supervise?" "You will. You're our expert in inclusive music education." Emily laughed. Who would have thought the blind girl who lived isolated in a mansion would become an expert in anything? "I would have," said Ruth. "I always knew you were special." "Special how?" Special because you had a heart too big for a small life. And now? Now your life matches the size of your heart. As they prepared for bed, Emily reflected on everything that had happened. 3 years earlier, she was a lost young woman, dependent, without purpose. Now she was a respected teacher, a beloved daughter, a free person. "Mom," she called before sleeping. "Yes, my daughter. Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for finding me. I love you. I love you too. Forever." Emily fell asleep with the sound of music still echoing in her ears. It was the music that had changed her life, the music that had reunited her family, the music that now lulled her dreams. And in her dreams she saw, not with her eyes but with her heart, a future full of possibilities, where blind and sighted children learned together, where families loved each other honestly, where music remained the universal language of love. It was a beautiful future. It was a possible future. It was the future she was building, one note at a time, one child at a time, one family at a time. And so, in a simple house in Queens, surrounded by the love of her true family, Emily Parker slept in peace, knowing she had found her place in the world. A place where blindness wasn't a limitation, but rather a different way of seeing life's beauty. A place where love overcame pride, truth overcame lies, and music overcame all barriers. The next morning, Emily woke with a strange feeling. She had dreamed of an unknown woman reaching out to her, but couldn't remember the face. "Mom, do you know any woman named Elizabeth?" she asked during breakfast. Catherine stopped eating. "Elizabeth? Why do you ask?" "I dreamed about her. She seemed important." Catherine and Michael exchanged worried looks. "Emily, there are some things about our family we haven't told you yet." "What things?" "You have an aunt, Elizabeth, your mother's sister." Emily felt the world spinning. "I have an aunt. Why didn't I know?" Catherine sighed deeply. "Because Elizabeth and I fought when you were born. She didn't accept that I married your father." "Why?" "Because she knew Richard before I did. They dated." The silence at breakfast was deafening. Emily tried to process this new revelation. "My aunt dated my father. They dated for 2 years. Elizabeth introduced your father to me at a party. She didn't know I would be interested in him." "And what happened?" "I fell in love with Richard. He fell in love with me. Elizabeth never forgave us." Michael completed the story. "Elizabeth moved to Los Angeles right after the wedding. Never spoke to Catherine again. Does she know I exist?" "She knows, but she never wanted to meet you." Emily got up from the table, clearly shaken. "How many more secrets are there in this family?" "My daughter, I didn't want to tell you because once again you decided for me what I should or shouldn't know." Catherine began to cry. "You're right, but this time it was to protect you from her rejection." "Mom, I don't need protection, I need truth." Emily left the house and walked to the small garden in the back. Ruth followed her. "Child, your mother is suffering." "I'm suffering too, Ruth. I'm tired of discovering my life is full of lies." "They're not lies, they're painful omissions." "What's the difference?" Ruth sat beside Emily on the garden bench. "The difference is the intention. Your father omitted to control. Your mother omits to protect. But the result is the same. I'm always the last to know things." "You're right. You have the right to know your whole story." Emily took a deep breath. "Ruth, do you know how I can find this Aunt Elizabeth? I know she works as a doctor in LA. Your mother sometimes talks about her when she's very sad. Does she still love her sister? Very much. Your mother always blamed herself for the fight. And my father, does he know about Elizabeth?" "He does, but he never talks about it." That afternoon, Dr. Richard arrived for his guitar lesson. Emily was waiting for him with a serious expression. "Dad, we need to talk." "About what?" "About Elizabeth." Dr. Richard turned pale. "Who told you about Elizabeth?" "My mother. Finally." "Emily, that was a long time ago. You dated my mother's sister and never told me. I didn't think it was relevant." "You didn't think it was relevant? Dad, she's my aunt." Dr. Richard sat down heavily. "Elizabeth was complicated." "How so?" "Very possessive. When I started being interested in your mother, she made a terrible scene." "What kind of scene?" "She said Catherine had stolen her sister's boyfriend, that she was a traitor." "And was she?" Dr. Richard hesitated. "No. Catherine didn't know about my feelings for her until I confessed, and when she found out, she tried to convince me to go back to Elizabeth." "And why didn't you go back?" "Because I hadn't loved Elizabeth for a long time. I just didn't have the courage to break up." Emily shook her head. "What a mess. It was a difficult time for everyone. Elizabeth moved to LA and cut ties with the whole family. Did she try to meet me after I was born?" Dr. Richard hesitated again. "She tried once, when you were 3 years old. And what happened?" I didn't allow it." "Why?" "Because she said terrible things about me to Catherine. She was trying to destroy our marriage." Emily felt anger growing. "Once again you decided for all of us. I was protecting our family." "No, Dad. You were protecting your ego." Dr. Richard lowered his head. "Maybe you're right. Where is she now?" "I don't know. We lost contact years ago. But you can find out." "Emily, why do you want to find her?" "Because she's part of my story, and I'm tired of living half a life." That night, Dr. Richard made some calls. He found out that Elizabeth worked as a cardiologist at a private hospital in Los Angeles. She was considered one of the best in the country. "She never married," he reported to the family. "She dedicated her whole life to medicine." "Does she have children?" asked Emily. "No, she lives alone." Catherine wiped away a tear. "I always wondered how she was doing." "Mum, do you want to reunite with your sister?" "I really do, but I'm afraid of her reaction." Michael approached Catherine. "If Emily managed to forgive 15 years of lies, maybe Elizabeth can forgive 22 years of resentment." "They're different situations," said Catherine. "They are. But family love is strong," argued Emily. "It's worth trying." Dr. Richard offered to make the first contact. "I can call her. Explain the situation." "No," said Emily firmly. "This time I make the first contact." "Are you sure?" "I am. She's my aunt. I want to meet her." The next day, Emily called the hospital where Elizabeth worked. After much insistence, she managed to speak directly with her. "Dr. Elizabeth, my name is Emily. Emily Parker." Silence on the other end of the line. You are Catherine's daughter?" "I am, and I would really like to meet my aunt." Silence again. "Elizabeth, are you there?" "I am. It's just, I never imagined you would look for me." "Why wouldn't you imagine that?" "Because your mother must have told you terrible things about me." "Actually, my mother almost never talked about you. I found out about your existence yesterday." "How so?" "It's a long story. Can I tell it to you in person?" Elizabeth hesitated for a long moment. "You want to come to LA?" "I do. I can come this weekend." "All right, but come alone." "I don't want to see Catherine yet." "Why?" "Because it still hurts." Emily agreed to go alone. Catherine was sad, but understood. "My daughter, if she wants to see me later, you let me know." "I will, and I'll try to understand why you argued so much." "It wasn't just because of your father," said Catherine quietly. "There were other things." "What other things?" "Our mother died when Elizabeth was 16 and I was 14. Elizabeth raised me, sacrificed a lot for me. When I married Richard, she felt abandoned. Now I'm starting to understand. Elizabeth was always very protective of me. Seeing the man she loved fall in love with me was devastating. And you? How did you feel?" "Guilty. Very guilty. But I couldn't stop loving your father." Dr. Richard approached. "Catherine, you weren't to blame for anything. Love can't be controlled." But Elizabeth didn't see it that way. "Elizabeth was hurt," said Michael. "Hurt makes people think irrationally." Emily left for LA on a Friday morning. It was the first long trip she had taken alone. She felt nervous but determined. Elizabeth was waiting for her at the airport. Emily recognized her immediately. She had the same voice as Catherine, only deeper. "Emily," called Elizabeth. "Aunt Elizabeth." Emily approached with open arms. Elizabeth hesitated for a moment, then hugged her niece. You look a lot like your mother when she was young, even though I'm blind. The blindness didn't change your features. You are beautiful." On the way to Elizabeth's apartment, they chatted about trivial things. Elizabeth lived in Santa Monica in a large and elegant apartment. "Do you really live alone?" asked Emily. "I do. I've always lived alone." "Never wanted to get married?" Elizabeth sighed. "I was in love once. It didn't work out. Because of my father. Because of many things." Elizabeth's apartment was impeccable, but cold. Emily noticed there were no family photographs nor significant personal items. "Aunt, can I ask you a personal question?" "Go ahead." "Do you still love my father?" Elizabeth was silent for a long moment. "No, I stopped loving him a long time ago." "Then why are you still hurt with my mother?" "Because it's not just about your father. It's about trust, about family loyalty." "Can you explain it better?" Elizabeth poured herself some coffee and sat next to Emily. "When our mother passed away, I promised I would always take care of Catherine. I worked during the day and studied at night to support the two of us. That was very generous." "It wasn't generosity, it was love. Catherine was all I had in the world." "And then?" "Then she fell in love with my boyfriend and didn't tell me. I found out when I saw them kissing in the park." Emily felt a pang in her heart. "Oh, I understand now. Do you understand why I felt betrayed?" "I do. But I also understand my mother. Love can't be controlled." "It can't be controlled, but honesty can be practiced." "She should have told you earlier." "She should have. We were sisters. There shouldn't have been secrets between us." Emily thought about the lies she had recently discovered. Secrets really do hurt. A lot. And I couldn't handle any more pain in my life. "What do you mean?" Elizabeth stood up and walked to the window. "Emily, can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" "Of course." "When your mother was born, I was 2 years old. Our mother had severe postpartum depression and couldn't take care of her." "And you took care of her?" "I did. A 2-year-old child taking care of a baby. I learned to change diapers, prepare bottles, calm the crying." Emily was moved. "You practically raised my mother." "I did. When our mother recovered, Catherine was already more attached to me than to her." "And did that create problems?" "It did. Our mother was always jealous of the relationship I had with Catherine. She felt I had stolen her daughter. What a difficult situation." "Very difficult. I spent my entire childhood and adolescence being the responsible older sister. I never had time to be a child, and when my mother fell in love with my father, I felt like I was losing the only person worth living for, and that she was choosing a man over me." Emily began to understand the depth of Elizabeth's pain. "Aunt, you sacrificed your childhood, your adolescence, your life for my mother." "I did, and when she left me, I felt like it had all been in vain." "But it wasn't in vain. My mother became a wonderful woman. I know that. I follow her life from afar." "What do you mean?" Elizabeth went to a closet and took out a folder. Inside were newspaper clippings about the music school, photos of Catherine's graduation, news about Emily. "You follow our lives?" asked Emily, surprised. "I do. I always have." "Then why did you never get in touch?" "Because I'm proud, and because I was afraid of being rejected." "My mother would never reject you. She loves you very much." "How do you know?" "Because I see how sad she gets when she talks about you. I see how she blames herself for the fight." Elizabeth began to cry. "I blame myself too. I was too hard on her. You were young. You made mistakes. Mistakes that cost 22 years of being together. It's never too late to start over." Elizabeth looked at Emily with admiration. "You're very wise for your age. I've learned that life is too short to waste on grudges. I learned that too in the most painful way possible." "What do you mean?" Elizabeth sighed deeply. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer." Emily felt her blood run cold. "Aunt, are you okay now?" "I'm cured, but during the treatment I realized how alone I was. I had no one to support me." "Why didn't you reach out to my mother?" Pride. Damn pride. And now, how do you feel about my mother? I miss her. I miss her a lot. Then why don't you reach out to her? Because I don't know if she would forgive me. I was very cruel when I found out about her relationship with Richard. What kind of cruelty? Elizabeth hesitated. I said things a sister should never say to another. What things? I said she was a gold digger, that she was only interested in Richard because of his money, that she was just like our father, who abandoned our family. Emily fell silent, processing the information. Aunt, did my grandparents separate? Not exactly. Our father left us when Catherine was 5. He never came back. And you were left alone with your mother? We were. That's when our mother started having emotional problems. That's why you had to take care of my mother. That's why. And that's why I was so afraid of losing her too. Emily moved closer to Elizabeth and held her hands. Aunt, you didn't lose my mother. She always loved you. How can you be sure? Because a mother who loves a daughter the way she loves me certainly loves a sister who raised her. Elizabeth cried more intensely. I'm so glad you came, Emily. I needed to hear that. And I needed to meet you. I need to understand my complete family history. What else do you want to know? I want to know about my grandparents, about my mother's childhood, about you. Elizabeth spent the rest of the day telling family stories. Emily discovered that her mother had been a very sensitive child who cried easily, but also laughed a lot. She discovered that Elizabeth had been a rebellious teenager who fought with everyone except Catherine. My mother told me you lived in a small house in the Bronx. We did. 3 tiny rooms. But we were happy when we were together. And music. When did my mother start getting interested in music? At 10 years old, she got a little guitar as a Christmas gift from a neighbor. She played day and night. And you, did you play too? I tried, but I had no talent. Catherine was born with it. And medicine? How did you discover you wanted to be a doctor? Elizabeth smiled for the first time that day. When Catherine had pneumonia at 7 years old, the doctor who treated me was so kind, so caring, that I decided I wanted to be just like him. And you succeeded. I did. I studied hard. I worked hard. Today, I'm recognized in my field. You must be proud of yourself. I'm proud professionally. Personally, I feel like I wasted a lot of time. It's never too late, Aunt. Do you really think Catherine would forgive me? I do. But you have to be prepared for the reunion to be difficult at first. Why difficult? Because both of you have changed a lot. You're not the same people you were 22 years ago. Elizabeth thought about that. You're right. I've changed a lot. For the better? I think so. I'm less possessive, less controlling, and more mature. Much more mature. Illness teaches you a lot. It really does. My blindness taught me to appreciate things that sighted people don't even notice. Like what? Like the sound of the voices of the people we love. Like the smell of the home where we're happy. Like the caring touch of someone who truly cares. Elizabeth was impressed by her niece's wisdom. You're truly special, Emily. I'm just a person who learned to live with my limitations, and who inspires others to do the same. That night, Elizabeth prepared dinner for the two of them. It was the first time in years that she had cooked for someone other than herself. Aunt, do you want me to call my mother? I can arrange a meeting between you. I'm not ready yet. What do you need to be ready? I need to forgive myself first. Forgive yourself for what? For wasting so many years, for hurting my sister, for being too proud. We all make mistakes. Yes, but mine cost decades of family relationship. Emily thought about her own experiences. Aunt, can I tell you about my story with my father? Of course. Emily told her about the 15 years of lies, about the reunion with her mother, about how she had forgiven her father. How were you able to forgive so many lies? Asked Elizabeth. Because I realized that holding on to resentment was hurting me more than it was hurting him. And wasn't it difficult? It was very difficult. But it was worth it because I got my father back. Did your father really change? Completely. Today he's honest, caring, present. He's the father I always wanted to have. And if he hadn't changed, then I would have forgiven him anyway. Because forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. Elizabeth fell silent, reflecting on her niece's words. Emily, would you help me write a letter to your mother? Of course. What kind of letter? A letter asking for forgiveness and proposing a reunion. They spent 2 hours writing and rewriting the letter. Elizabeth wanted every word to be perfect. Aunt, the letter is beautiful, but what matters isn't the words, it's the feeling. And what feeling do you perceive in the letter? Love, longing, sincere regret. That's exactly what I feel. Then my mother will feel it too. On Saturday morning, Emily called home. Catherine answered anxiously, "My daughter, how is the meeting going?" "It's going wonderfully, Mother. Aunt Elizabeth is an amazing woman." "How is she?" "Well, more mature, wiser, and she misses you a lot." Catherine was silent for a moment. "She said that?" "She did. And she wrote a letter for you." "A letter?" "A very beautiful letter, full of love and regret." "Emily, do you think I should—" "I think you should meet. In person." "I'm afraid." "Of what?" "That the meeting will be disastrous, that the resentment will be greater than the love." Emily looked at Elizabeth, who was nervously waiting for the answer. "Mother, your love is very strong, stronger than any resentment." "How can you be sure?" "Because I see how Elizabeth talks about you, with affection, with pride, with longing." Catherine started crying on the other end of the line. "I miss her too. Then come to LA. Now." "Now?" "Now. You've already lost 22 years. Don't waste another day." Elizabeth approached Emily. "Does she want to come?" Emily covered the phone. "She does, but she's scared." "Tell her I'm scared too. But that longing is greater than fear." Emily repeated Elizabeth's words to Catherine. "Mom," she said, "longing is greater than fear." "It's true. Longing is much greater." "Then come. Michael can come along to support you." "All right. We'll take the first flight tomorrow." After hanging up, Elizabeth hugged Emily. "Thank you for making this happen. I didn't do anything. I just let love speak louder. You did so much. You were the bridge between us. And I'm happy I did." Sunday morning, Elizabeth was more nervous than Emily had ever seen anyone. "Aunt, relax. She's your sister, not a stranger. It's just been so long. Time doesn't matter. What matters is that you love each other." "What if she thinks I've changed too much?" "Then you explain how you've changed and why." "What if I don't know what to say?" "Then you hug her." Hugs say more than words. When Catherine and Michael arrived at the apartment, Emily opened the door. Catherine was visibly nervous. "Is she here?" whispered Catherine. "She is. In the living room. As nervous as you." Catherine took a deep breath and walked to the living room. Elizabeth had her back turned, looking out the window. "Elizabeth?" called Catherine with a trembling voice. Elizabeth turned slowly. The two sisters looked at each other for a moment that seemed eternal. "Catherine," whispered Elizabeth. "My sister," Catherine whispered back. They ran to each other and embraced, crying uncontrollably. 22 years of separation, 22 years of longing, 22 years of repressed love exploded in that hug. "I'm sorry," they both said at the same time. Emily and Michael watched emotionally from the doorway. "I missed you so much," said Catherine. "Me too, every day." "Why were we so proud?" "Because we were young and thought we were right." "And now?" "Now I know family love is more important than any hurt." They pulled apart to look at each other better. "You look beautiful," said Elizabeth. "You too, more mature, more elegant. You haven't changed at all, still have the same sweet smile." "I've changed a lot inside. I've learned much about forgiveness." "I've learned too, the hard way." They sat on the couch, holding hands like when they were children. "Elizabeth, I need to tell you about my life, about Emily, about Richard, about everything." And I need to tell you about mine, about medicine, about loneliness, about cancer. Cancer. Catherine became alarmed. I had breast cancer 5 years ago. I'm cured, but it was a very difficult period. Why didn't you reach out? I would have taken care of you. Pride. Damn pride. Catherine hugged her sister again. We'll never be apart again. Never again. Promise? I promise. Emily approached the two. Can I join this moment? Of course, my daughter, said Catherine, pulling Emily into the hug. Of course, my dear niece, said Elizabeth, doing the same. Michael approached too. Catherine, would you like to introduce me to your sister? Elizabeth, this is Michael, my husband. Elizabeth stood up to greet Michael. Nice to meet you. Thank you for taking care of my sister. Thank you for raising her so well. Catherine has always been special. It's true, very special. They spent the whole day talking, catching up, healing old wounds. Elizabeth, would you like to see our school? Asked Catherine. I'd love to. And I'd like to help if you'll let me. How so? I'm a doctor. I can provide healthcare assistance for the children. That would be wonderful. And I can also give health talks for the families. Emily smiled. Our family is growing. And our school too, said Michael. Elizabeth, would you consider moving to New York City? Asked Catherine. I would. Actually, I was looking for a life change. Then it's decided. You'll come live near us. But what about my job in LA? You can work in New York City. There are many hospitals looking for good cardiologists. Elizabeth smiled. I think it's time for a change indeed. When it was time to return to New York City, Elizabeth decided to go along. I want to see the school. I want to meet the children. I want to be part of this family again. During the flight, Emily talked with Elizabeth about the school. The kids will love having a doctor around. And I will love having kids around. I always wanted children. Why didn't you ever have any? Because I never found the right man. And then it became too late. It's never too late to be a mother. You may not have biological children, but you can be a mother at heart to many children. Elizabeth was moved. You're right. I can be the aunt I always wanted to be. When they arrived at the school in New York City, Dr. Richard was there waiting. When he saw Elizabeth, he became visibly uncomfortable. Elizabeth, he said, greeting her formally. Richard, she replied with equal formality. How are you? Well. And you? Well, too. Emily noticed the tension. Dad, Aunt Elizabeth is moving to New York City. She's going to work at the school. That's good, said Dr. Richard, without much enthusiasm. Elizabeth approached him. Richard, can we talk in private? Of course. They went to a separate room. Emily, Catherine, and Michael were curious, but respected their privacy. Richard, I want to apologize, said Elizabeth. Apologize for what? For everything I said about you when you and Catherine got married? For trying to destroy your marriage? Dr. Richard was surprised. Elizabeth, that was a long time ago. It was. But harsh words echo for a long time. That's true, but I made mistakes too. What mistakes? I shouldn't have kept you from getting to know Emily when she was a child. Why did you? Because I was afraid you would turn Catherine against me. And you were right. I probably would have done that. They both laughed nervously. We're two completely different people now, said Elizabeth. We are. I learned to be less controlling, and I learned to be less possessive. Do you think we can be civil? I think we can even be friends. Friends? Why not? We both love Catherine and Emily. That should bring us together, not separate us. Dr. Richard extended his hand. Friends, then. Elizabeth shook his hand. Friends. When they returned to where the others were, everyone noticed something had changed. Is everything okay? Was asked Catherine. Better than okay, said Elizabeth. Richard and I made peace. Really? Really? Now we're a real family. Emily smiled. Finally. In the following months, Elizabeth settled in New York City. She rented an apartment near the school and started working at a private hospital in the area. She quickly became a beloved figure among the school children. They called her Dr. Elizabeth, and always ran to hug her when she arrived. "Dr. Elizabeth," said Jacob, the 10-year-old boy, "can you teach us about the heart?" "Of course, Jacob. What do you want to know?" "Why does the heart beat faster when we're happy?" Elizabeth smiled. "Because when we're happy, the body produces substances that speed up the heart. And when we're sad? When we're sad, sometimes the heart really hurts, but it always heals." "Like Aunt Catherine's and your heart?" Elizabeth was moved. "Exactly like ours, Jacob." The school was growing quickly. With Elizabeth taking care of the children's health, Catherine and Emily could focus more on music teaching. Dr. Richard had kept his promise to go to therapy and was noticeably more relaxed and happy. "Dad, you seem like a different person," observed Emily during one of her guitar lessons. "I feel like a different person. What changed?" "I learned that controlling people isn't loving people." "And now?" "Now I just love you all, without trying to control anything." "And how does that feel?" "Free. For the first time in my life, I feel free." "Is it a good feeling?" "The best feeling in the world." One afternoon, while Emily was teaching the children, an unexpected visitor arrived. He was a young man about 25 years old, well-dressed but with a cane in his hand. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "My name is Daniel Johnson. I'm a journalist and would like to do a story about the school." Emily paused the class for a moment. "A journalist from where?" "From Time magazine. I heard about your work and want to share it with the whole country. Please, come in, you can sit over there." Daniel sat down and observed the class. Emily noticed he paid attention to every detail, as if he were genuinely interested in the work. After class, she spoke with him. "Do you also have a visual impairment?" asked Emily. "I do. I lost my sight at 20, in a car accident." "How did you deal with it?" "It was very difficult. I was in journalism school and thought my career was over. And how did you overcome it?" "With help, and with a lot of determination." "And now?" "Now I work for one of the country's biggest magazines, specializing in stories about inclusion." Emily was intrigued by his story. "What kind of accident was it?" "I'd rather not talk about that. It's still very painful." "I understand. Everyone has their own time to process trauma." "Exactly. But can I ask you about your accident?" Emily briefly told her story. Daniel was impressed. "You are very brave." "I'm not brave. I just learned that we can choose to be victims or protagonists of our lives. And you chose to be a protagonist." "I did. And you?" "I'm learning to choose." They talked for over an hour. Emily felt connected to Daniel in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. "Can I come back tomorrow to continue the interview?" he asked. "Of course. And if you'd like, you can have lunch with us. My family would love to meet you." "Your family?" "My mother, my stepfather, my aunt, my father. It's a big and complicated family." Daniel laughed. "I love complicated families. They're the most interesting." That evening, Emily told her family about Daniel. "He sounds interesting," said Catherine. "He is interesting. Smart, good-humored, determined." "And handsome?" asked Elizabeth mischievously. "Aunt," Emily blushed. "I can't see, remember? But you sense people's energy. What energy did you feel from him?" Emily thought for a moment. "A good energy, calm but strong." Said Elizabeth with a smile. "What's that, Nothing. I just find it interesting that you're blushing while talking about a man." Dr. Richard approached. "Emily, you've never talked about dating, marriage." "I never had the chance. I was always overprotected." "And now? Are you interested in meeting someone?" "I am, but it has to be someone special." "Someone who sees you for who you really are," said Catherine. "Exactly. Not as the blind daughter of the billionaire, nor as the poor thing who needs pity." "And do you think this Daniel could be that someone?" "I don't know. I barely know him, but it was the first time I talked to a man and forgot I'm blind." Michael smiled. "That's a good sign." "It is. He treated me like a normal person." The next day Daniel returned as promised. This time he brought a photographer. "This is Brandon," introduced Daniel. "He'll photograph the school for the story." Brandon also had a visual impairment. "Nice to meet you, everyone. I'm a blind photographer." Emily was intrigued. How does photography work for someone who can't see? I use special equipment and rely a lot on intuition, explained Brandon. And I have help from assistants when needed. How incredible. During lunch, Daniel met the whole family. He was fascinated by the story of reconciliation between Catherine and Elizabeth. You forgave 22 years of separation? He asked. We did, said Elizabeth, because we found that holding grudges only wastes more time. And you, Dr. Richard? How was forgiving and being forgiven? Dr. Richard thought carefully. It was liberating. I discovered that carrying guilt is a self-imposed prison. And Emily? How was forgiving 15 years of lies? It was necessary, replied Emily, because I found that forgiveness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs to move forward. Daniel was mentally taking notes of everything. This family is an example of resilience. We're not perfect, said Catherine. We just learned that family love is worth any effort. And that honesty, even when painful, is always better than comfortable lies, added Michael. After lunch, Daniel stayed to talk more with Emily. Can I ask you a personal question? He said. Of course. Do you have a boyfriend? Emily blushed again. No. I've never been in a serious relationship. Why? Because I've always lived in a bubble, too protected to meet real people. And now, would you like to date? I would, if I found the right person. What kind of person would be right? Someone who challenges me, who makes me grow, who sees possibilities where others see limitations. And physically, what kind of man attracts you? Emily laughed. That's a strange question to ask a blind person. Why? Because attraction for me isn't visual, it's energetic. How so? I'm attracted to how a person speaks, how they touch, how they smell, how they laugh. And what kind of energy attracts you? Positive energy, determination, genuine kindness. Daniel was silent for a moment. Emily, can I confess something? Of course. I came here to write a story, but I'm leaving with something much bigger. What? Admiration. For you, for your family, for everything you've built. Thank you. And interest. Journalistic interest. No. Personal interest. Emily felt her heart race. Daniel. I know we just met, but I'd like to get to know you better, outside of a professional context. How so? I'd like to invite you to dinner, just the two of us. Emily hesitated. I don't know. Why don't you know? Because I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of getting hurt, of being rejected when you get to know me better. Daniel moved closer to her. Emily, can I touch you? You may. He gently held her hands. You're one of the most impressive people I've ever met. Your blindness doesn't diminish you in any way. How can you be sure? Because I've talked with you for hours and never once thought about your disability. I only thought about the incredible woman you are. Emily felt tears in her eyes. No one has ever told me that. Then the people you met before were truly blind. How so? Blind to your beauty, your intelligence, your strength. Daniel, will you have dinner with me? Emily took a deep breath. I will. Great. How about tomorrow night? Okay. And Emily? Yes? You can be yourself. You don't need to impress anyone. After Daniel left, the whole family wanted details. Did he ask you out? Asked Elizabeth eagerly. He did. And you accepted? I accepted. That's great, said Catherine. You deserve to meet someone special. Mum, what if it doesn't work out? Then you'll have had an experience, and experiences always teach us something. Doctor. Richard approached. Emily, do you want me to run a background check on this young man? Dad, Emily laughed. You don't need to investigate anyone. But what if he's not trustworthy? Then I'll find out for myself. But, Dad, you promised you'd stop being controlling. I did, but it's hard not to worry. Worrying is normal. Controlling isn't. You're right. I'm sorry. It's okay. I know you worry because you love me. That night, Emily could hardly sleep. She was nervous about the date the next day. "Mom," she called out in the middle of the night. "Yes, my daughter." "Do you think I'm doing the right thing?" "I do. You're living." "What if I get hurt?" "Then you'll heal, and you'll become stronger." "How can you be so sure?" "Because you're my daughter, and women in our family are resilient." "Resilient like you and Aunt Elizabeth?" "Exactly like us." The following evening, Daniel arrived promptly at 7 o'clock. He was nervous too. "Hi, Emily, you look beautiful." "Thank you. You look well-dressed." He laughed. "How can you tell?" "By the scent of good cologne and the sound of starched clothes." "Impressive. Your senses are really sharp." "They are. It's an advantage of blindness." Daniel took her to an Italian restaurant in the city center. It was a cozy place with soft music in the background. "Is this place special to you?" asked Emily. "No. I chose it because it has good food and a quiet atmosphere for us to talk." "Thank you for thinking of that. I always think about the comfort of people I care about." During dinner, they talked about everything: family, work, dreams, fears. "Daniel, can I ask you about your accident?" He tensed up. "It's hard to talk about." "You don't have to if you don't want to." "No, it's okay. You were honest with me. I can be honest with you." He took a deep breath. "I was driving after a party. I had had a bit to drink. Not much, but enough to slow my reflexes." "What happened?" "A dog ran across the street. I tried to avoid it and hit a tree." "Were you badly hurt?" "I broke several ribs, fractured my collarbone and had a head injury. It was the head injury that caused the blindness." "And how did you deal with the guilt?" "That's the hardest part. I know it was my fault. I shouldn't have driven. We all make mistakes. But not all mistakes cost you your sight." Emily held his hand. "Daniel, you can't spend your life punishing yourself forever." "Why can't I?" "Because punishment doesn't undo the past. It only blocks the future." "And how do you know that?" "Because I spent years blaming myself for my accident too." "But you were a child. You couldn't have known better." "And you were young. You didn't have enough experience either." "It's different." "It's not. Guilt is guilt, and it only serves to paralyze us." Daniel fell silent, processing her words. "How did you manage to overcome the guilt?" "By understanding that my blindness wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of a different life." "Different how?" "More sensitive, more empathetic, more focused on what really matters." "And you don't feel anger?" "Sometimes, but anger is exhausting. I prefer to use my energy to build good things." "Like the school." "Like the school. Like my family. Like this conversation with you." Daniel smiled. "You're amazing, Emily. I'm just someone who decided not to be a victim of my circumstances." "And how did you make that decision?" "Gradually, with help, with love, with patience with myself." "And do you think I could make the same decision?" "I do. But you have to want to. No one can do it for you." They kept talking until the restaurant closed. Daniel took her back home. "Can I see you again?" he asked at her door. "I'd really like that." "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow I have classes, but I can see you afterward." "Perfect." He moved closer to say goodbye. "Can I kiss you?" Emily hesitated for a moment, then nodded. It was a soft, tender kiss, full of promises. "Good night, Emily." "Good night, Daniel." When she entered the house, the whole family was eagerly waiting. "How was it?" they asked in unison. "It was wonderful." "Is he a gentleman?" asked Dr. Richard. "Yes." "Very kind and respectful." "And did you connect?" asked Catherine. "Very much. We talked for hours without noticing the time pass." "And did he kiss you?" asked Elizabeth mischievously. "Aunt," Emily blushed. "Yes, he did," said Ruth, who had been watching from the window. "Ruth," laughed Emily. "That's great, dear. You deserve to be happy." "It's still too early to talk about happiness." "It's not too early to talk about possibilities," said Michael. In the following days, Daniel and Emily saw each other every night. He would pick her up after classes, and they would go for walks, have dinner, talk for hours. "Mom, I think I'm falling in love," Emily confessed one morning. "How do you feel about that?" "Scared and happy at the same time. That's just how love works. And if he doesn't feel the same way, then you will have experienced falling in love. And that is beautiful in itself. Even if it's not returned? Even if it's not, love is always worth it, regardless of the outcome." A week later, Daniel had a serious conversation with Emily. "Emily, I need to tell you something important." "What is it?" "The article about the school came out in the magazine, and it had a huge response." "What kind of response?" "Good, very good. Several schools want to implement similar methods. Politicians are talking about inclusive education." "How wonderful." "And there's more. A publisher wants you to write a book about your story." "A book? A book about resilience, about family, about second chances." Emily fell silent, processing the information. "Daniel, this is amazing, but why are you telling me so seriously?" "Because there's something else. The publisher wants me to be the ghostwriter of the book." "Ghostwriter? The person who writes the book based on your story. It would be a professional partnership." "I see. And what's the problem?" "The problem is that this would mean working together intensively for months. And I don't want our personal relationship to be confused with professional interest." Emily understood his concern. "You're afraid that I'll think you got close to me out of interest." "I am. Because that wasn't it. My interest in you is genuine. And my interest in you is genuine too. So, how do we handle this situation?" Emily thought for a moment. "We separate things. During the day, we are professional partners. At night, we are people getting to know each other." "Do you think it will work?" "I do, if we're both clear about the boundaries." "And do you really want to write this book?" "I do. If our story can help other families, it's worth telling. Then let's do it together. Together." In the following months, Emily and Daniel worked intensively on the book. During the day, she told her story and he wrote. At night, they explored the relationship growing between them. The process of writing the book was therapeutic for Emily. She revisited painful moments but also celebrated the victories. "It's strange to see my life on paper," she said to Daniel one day. "Why?" "Because it seems bigger than when I'm living it." "Your life is big. You just didn't realize it before." "And you? How do you feel writing my story?" "I feel honored and inspired." "Inspired how?" "You taught me that limitations don't define possibilities. And you taught me that new beginnings are always possible." During the process, the whole family got involved. Catherine, Elizabeth, Dr. Richard, Michael, and Ruth shared their perspectives on the events. "It's interesting to see how each person remembers things differently," observed Dr. Richard. "It's because each one experienced the situation from a different point of view," explained Daniel. "And what is the book's point of view?" asked Elizabeth. "The point of view of love, of how family love can overcome any obstacle." "That's a good point of view," said Catherine. "It's what really matters." 6 months later, the book was ready. Music of the Heart, a story of reunion and resilience, would be launched at a major bookstore in New York City. "Nervous about the launch?" asked Daniel on the morning of the event. "Very. And you?" "Me too. But I'm confident. It's a beautiful story." "It's our story. It's our story." The launch was a success. Hundreds of people attended, including journalists, educators, and families who had gone through similar situations. During her speech, Emily moved the audience. "This book isn't about me," she said. "It's about all the families who wasted time with pride. It's about all the people who think limitations are barriers. It's about the transformative power of forgiveness." After the event, Daniel and Emily walked together through the park near the bookstore. "Emily, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" "Expanding the school, training more teachers, maybe having my own family." "Your own family?" "Yes. I've always wanted to get married and have children." And what kind of man would you like to marry? Emily smiled. Someone who makes me laugh, who challenges me, who supports my dreams. Someone like who? Someone like you. Daniel stopped walking. Emily. Yes? I love you. I love you too. They kissed right there, in the middle of the park, while life continued around them. Daniel? Yes? Would you like to meet my school children? I want to know everything that's important to you. Then tomorrow, you'll come to the school. The children will love you. Why? Because you're kind, and children notice kindness from afar. The next day, Daniel met all the children at the school. He quickly became a favorite among them. Uncle Daniel, said Olivia, the girl who had entered the conservatory, are you going to marry Aunt Emily? Olivia! Emily blushed. Why? Asked Daniel, amused. Because you look at each other like my parents did before they got married. And what does that look like? It's a look of someone who likes each other very, very much. Daniel laughed. Olivia, you're very smart. And are you really going to get married? Olivia, it's too early to talk about that, said Emily. But do you want to? Emily and Daniel looked at each other. Yes, they said together. The children burst into celebration. There's going to be a wedding at the school, they shouted. Children, laughed Emily. No one said anything about a wedding at the school. But it could happen, right, Aunt Emily? Insisted Jacob. It could, said Elizabeth, who had just arrived. A wedding here would be beautiful. Aunt Elizabeth. What? I'm just agreeing with the children. Catherine and Michael arrived shortly after. Agreeing with what? Asked Catherine. With the idea of having a wedding at the school, explained Elizabeth. What wedding? Asked Michael. All the children shouted together, Aunt Emily and Uncle Daniel's. Catherine looked at her daughter in surprise. Are you engaged? No, said Emily quickly. The children are making things up. But do you want to get married? Insisted Catherine. Emily and Daniel looked at each other again. Yes, they admitted. Dr. Richard arrived at that moment and heard the last part of the conversation. Did someone mention a wedding? Dad! Daniel, Dr. Richard addressed the young man. Can I speak with you? Of course, Doctor. They went to a private room. Emily became nervous. What is Dad going to do? She asked Ruth. He's going to talk man to man, girl. What if he scares Daniel? Daniel seems brave. He won't get scared. In the room, Dr. Richard got straight to the point. Daniel, do you love my daughter? Very much. And can you provide for her? I can. I work at an important magazine, and now I'll be earning royalties from the book. I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about emotional support. Doctor, your daughter is the strongest person I know. She doesn't need me to support her emotionally. She needs me to support her dreams. And would you do that? I would. I want to see her grow, achieve her goals, be happy. And children. Do you want to have children? We do. Emily talked about that, and I would love to be a father. Even knowing there's a chance the children could be born with visual impairment. Doctor, that doesn't worry me. If they're born blind, they'll have the best parents to teach them how to live well with that condition. Dr. Richard smiled. Good answer. Doctor, can I ask you a question? Of course. Do I have your blessing to ask for Emily's hand in marriage? You do, but you also have my advice. What advice? Marry her because she's incredible, not despite her being blind. That's exactly how I see her. Then you're going to be very happy. When they returned to where the others were, Dr. Richard was smiling. Father, asked Emily nervously, Daniel is a good man. You have my blessing. Blessing for what? To be happy together. Daniel knelt in front of Emily right there at the school, with all the children, teachers and family watching. Emily Parker, will you marry me? Emily started to cry. Are you serious? Completely serious. But you don't have a ring. Yes, I do. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple but beautiful ring. When did you buy this? I bought it a month ago. I was waiting for the right moment. And is this the right moment? Surrounded by the people you love in the place that is most important to you? Yes, this is the perfect moment. Then yes, I want to marry you. The entire school erupted in celebration. The children screamed, the adults cried, everyone hugged each other. "There's really going to be a wedding at the school," shouted Jacob, euphoric. "Yes, there is," said Emily, laughing through her tears. "There's going to be a wedding at the school." In the following months, the wedding preparations energized the whole community. The school children wanted to be part of everything. The choir, the decorations, the party. "Aunt Emily," said Olivia, "can I play the piano for your entrance?" "Of course. What song do you want to play?" "Our song. The song that brought your family back together." "It's perfect." Elizabeth took over the medical organization of the event. Catherine handled the music. Dr. Richard financed everything. Michael coordinated the logistics, and Ruth supervised the food. "I've never seen a wedding organized by an entire family," commented Daniel. "It's because you never had a real whole family before," replied Emily. "And now I do. Now we do." The wedding took place on a Saturday morning in the school garden. There were flowers everywhere, live music, and lots of joy. Emily entered to the sound of Olivia's piano, guided by Dr. Richard and Catherine, each holding one of her arms. "Are you nervous?" whispered Dr. Richard. "I am, but it's the good kind of nervous. It's the best kind of nervous." Daniel was waiting for her at the makeshift altar, visibly emotional. "You look beautiful," he said when she reached his side. "How do you know?" she joked. "Because you are radiant. I can feel your happiness from here." The ceremony was conducted by a judge who was a family friend. It was simple but deeply moving. "Daniel," said Emily during the vows, "you appeared in my life when I least expected it, and taught me that love arrives at the right time. I promise to love you, support you, and build a beautiful family by your side." "Emily," said Daniel, "you taught me that limitations are just opportunities to be creative. I promise to love you every day, admire you always, and create a home full of music and laughter with you." When the judge declared them husband and wife, the entire school gave a standing ovation. "You may kiss the bride," said the judge. "With the greatest pleasure," said Daniel, and they kissed there, surrounded by their chosen family, in the place where everything had begun to transform. After the ceremony, there was a beautiful party. The children sang, the adults danced, and everyone celebrated love. "Emily," said Catherine during the party, "I am so proud of you." "Why, Mother?" "For creating a beautiful life, for turning pain into joy, for finding true love. I learned from you. You taught me it's never too late to start over. And you taught me that forgiveness is liberation." Elizabeth approached the two. "Can I join this moment of family affection?" "Of course, Aunt Elizabeth, now you are part of all our celebrations." "It's so good to have a family again." Dr. Richard joined the group. "It's wonderful to see you all happy." "And united," said Michael, arriving too. "United forever," completed Ruth. Daniel watched the scene with a smile. Emily noticed and approached him. "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking I've been very lucky." "Why?" "Because not only did I marry the most incredible woman in the world, but I also gained an extraordinary family." "We're the lucky ones. We gained you." "And now? What's the next chapter of our story?" Emily smiled. "Now we'll build our own family. We'll have children. We'll teach them to love music, to value family, to never give up on their dreams. And if our children are born blind, then they'll be the most prepared kids in the world to handle that. And if they're born sighted, then they'll be the most empathetic children in the world. Either way, they'll be loved, very loved." As the party continued around them, Emily and Daniel stepped away for a moment alone. "Daniel, thank you." "Why?" "For coming into my life, for teaching me how to fall in love, for accepting my crazy family." "Emily, thank you." "Why?" "For teaching me that limitations don't exist, for showing me what a real family is, for loving me despite my flaws." "What flaws?" "I'm stubborn, a perfectionist, sometimes controlling. And I'm dramatic, too sensitive, and sometimes stubborn too." We're perfect for each other. We're imperfect for each other, and that's even better." They laughed and kissed again as the sun set over the school that had changed all their lives. 2 years later, Emily and Daniel were sitting in the same school garden, but now with a 6-month-old baby in their arms. "Catherine Rose is growing fast," said Daniel. "She is. And she looks just like Grandma Catherine. How do you know? You can't see her." "I can feel it. She has the same sweet energy as my mother." Catherine approached them. "Can I hold my granddaughter?" "Of course, Grandma." Catherine took the baby in her arms and began to hum softly. It was the same song that had united the family years before. "She already recognizes that song," observed Daniel. "Of course, it's the family's song." Elizabeth came running from the hospital. "Sorry I'm late. How's my great niece?" "Perfect. Want to hold her?" "Yes." As Elizabeth rocked the baby, Dr. Richard arrived too. "How's my beautiful little granddaughter?" "Growing and charming, everyone." Just like her mother, Michael and Ruth completed the family group. "How was her checkup today?" asked Michael. "Perfect," replied Emily. "She's healthy and developing normally." "And her vision?" asked Ruth, concerned. "Normal too. She has no vision problems." "What a relief," sighed Dr. Richard. "Dad, it wouldn't be a problem if she were blind," said Emily gently. "I know, but it's natural to worry." "Yes, but it's also natural to accept our children as they are." "You're right, as always." The baby started crying, and Emily immediately knew what she wanted. "She's hungry. Can I take her, Aunt Elizabeth?" Elizabeth handed the baby to Emily. "How do you always know what she wants?" "Maternal intuition and sharp hearing." While Emily breastfed her daughter, the family gathered around her as they always did. "Do you know what's the most amazing thing about all this?" said Catherine. "What?" everyone asked. "That 3 years ago we were all separated by hurt and pride, and today we're a family united by love." "And music," added Emily. "Always music." "Music brought you back to me," said Catherine. "Music brought Daniel into my life," said Emily. "Music brought Catherine and me back together," said Elizabeth. "And music will unite more generations of this family," said Daniel, looking at his daughter. Dr. Richard was moved. "I apologize every day for almost destroying this family." "Dad, you didn't almost destroy it. You almost lost it. But in the end, you were the one who brought us back together." "How so?" "If you hadn't organized that party, I would never have met Michael. If Michael hadn't played that song, I would never have discovered the truth. If I hadn't discovered the truth, none of this would have happened. So in the end, everything was necessary. Everything was necessary. Every mistake, every hurt, every moment of pain. It all brought us here." "That's a beautiful way to see things," said Daniel. "It's the only way to see things. If we stay stuck in the past, we lose the present." The baby stopped nursing and looked directly at Emily, as if understanding every word. "She's listening to you," said Michael. "She is, and I hope she grows up knowing that family is the most important thing in the world." "She will grow up," said Catherine, "because she'll have the example of all of us." When the sun had completely set, they went inside the house. The simple house in Queens had become a home full of love, music, and laughter. "Catherine Rose, do you want Daddy to play a song for you?" asked Daniel. The baby made some noises that everyone interpreted as yes. Daniel picked up his guitar and began to play the family song. Emily hummed along, Catherine harmonized, Elizabeth kept the rhythm by clapping, Dr. Richard tried to follow along with another guitar, Michael played harmonica, and Ruth swayed the baby to the music. "Do you know what this is?" asked Emily during a pause. "What?" everyone asked. "This is a miracle of love, of forgiveness, of second chances." "It really is," agreed Daniel. "It's the kind of miracle that happens when people choose to love instead of holding on to hurt. And when they choose honesty over lies," added Dr. Richard. "And when they choose unity over separation," said Elizabeth. "And when they choose hope over giving up," said Catherine. "And when they choose family over pride," finished Michael. Ruth, holding the baby, had the last word. And when they choose music to express everything that can't be said with words, the music continued echoing through the house, reaching the street where neighbors stopped to listen. It was the same melody that had changed Emily's life years before, but now played by a complete and happy family. And so, in a simple house in Queens, surrounded by the music and love of her family, Emily Parker Johnson rocked her daughter to sleep, knowing she had built the kind of home she had always dreamed of having. A home where honesty was more important than comfort, where love was stronger than pride, where music was the universal language of the heart, and where differences weren't limitations but unique characteristics that made each person special. And when Catherine Rose grew up, she would grow up knowing that her family had been built through much suffering, many tears, much forgiveness, and much love, and that she was the sweetest fruit of it all. The family song would continue playing for generations, reminding everyone that it's never too late to start over, never too late to forgive, and never too late to choose love. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Emily made the right decision by leaving the mansion to live with her mother? How would you react if you discovered your family had hidden important truths from you? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more moving stories like this one.